I'm Margaret Reardon. Welcome to my second home. I'm very excited to be hosting the second book reading. Lakewood beat us to the first one, so this is the second one. But I'm going to turn the floor over to our guest of honor. Welcome, Alex.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm so grateful to see all the familiar faces. There's people here I haven't seen in quite some time. So I'm grateful you're all here. And before we get started with tonight's event, I do want to make sure that I give some shout outs to a whole nice list of people that made tonight possible. First of all, Margaret and the Beachwood Public Library. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for also being the first person that managed to get me into the art section of the newspaper. It was really thrilling. I was in Chicago for Thanksgiving, I'm doing my nails, and suddenly I get pinged. They're like, oh, you're in the paper. I'm like, this is nice. This is living right here. So thank you so much. Thank you for making this possible. And a couple of other folks I'd like to thank. Wesley, thank you for making sure that every single event that I do as a book reading is always recorded. And Wesley and his partner Simone last year actually produced the trailer for my last book. And it's just always nice to have somebody who's documenting you in your creative process. So thank you. Thank you for being here.
Happy to do it.
I really appreciate it. Dina. I think most of you know Dina over here. So Dina and I go way back. We first met working at American Greetings together back when I met Coretta as well. And it was 10 years ago, and you were in the creative department. And then in 2006, Dina and I, and a few familiar faces in the room, were all on this life-altering Israel trip together. And no one had a more life-altering trip than Dina, because she found out she was pregnant with her son Rafi on that trip. And today she got to watch him perform in Greece, and he's actually performing tonight, but she's here, and she saw him perform during the day. She's not a bad mother. She saw him perform earlier today, and also a couple of other things. So anybody else, I know several of you are creative people, right? Writers. How many of you, private writers, public writers? Right, Hemingway said writing is easy, you just bleed on the page. But how easy is it to actually get up in front of a room and not read a lecture, but actually read something that broke your heart, or perhaps it completely changed your perspective on things. This woman here double dared me to go and just unshackle all that, and to literally read my life's most painful moment in front of a crowd, and 5 minutes later she had me laughing at it. And that is her gift. I guarantee you, if you need some like expedited therapy today, you can like put her in a corner and say, here's my most painful moment, and in 3 minutes she will have you laughing and realizing it was the most absurd thing that ever happened. And so Dina wrote the final words to my last book. She's gonna kick off and she's gonna do improv. And speaking of Israel, Jimmy Israel was supposed to be here. He sends his regards. Unfortunately, he could not make it due to a professional conflict. When this project first started, I sent Jimmy what at the time was nothing more than just a diary of a broken heart. That's all it was. It was literally just a diary. And I said, can you just give me some notes? So Jimmy Israel, he's an author, he's a screenwriter, he teaches film. He's just a wonderful, wonderful human being, a real mensch. And I said, can you just give me some notes? And you know what else he did? Instead of just giving me notes, he wrote me a foreword. He wrote me an absolutely killer foreword that Dina's gonna read later today. And the one thing about when you've got a creative friend who believes in you more than you can believe in yourself at that moment, is he wrote me. It took me 3.5 years to rise to it. So I am so, so grateful that Jimmy made me go through this process. And Anita Myers, who was at the Lakewood Library reading, she's the one who made me do this. After a guy dumped me on a text message, she said, go keep a diary. I said, crazy, go keep a diary. Okay, I did. And Barry Evans is a writing coach and mentor in LA. She worked with me on this project for 3.5 years. And when I sent her the initial diary, I said, you think there's anything here? You think there's anything relatable here? You think anything at all? And she said, yes, and I'll work with you under 2 conditions. Number 1, you have to cut out all the BS out of this. Number 2, she goes, get to the truth of the matter. And so I am so grateful for all those people, but none of this would happen if it wasn't for my mom, Elizabeth Cherry, here today, who I just picked up from the airport a couple of hours ago. And she's a private writer, a very gifted writer, and I get my writing DNA from her. And in my family, so my father was always the disciplinarian, and my mother was always the risk taker, rule breaker. So he always taught us how to drive a car. She always taught us how not to drive a car. And I have both of their DNA inside me, but it's also the first time that I've got a family member at a reading. So Mom, thank you so much for being here. Thank you. So here's what we're gonna do. Dina's gonna kick it off with some funny stuff, then she's gonna graciously read Jimmy's forward. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to read 2 excerpts from the book, and I'm going to read a poem. After that, we'll do a Q&A. Hey, it's good to see you. Yeah, you'll be. It's good to see you. After that, we'll do Q&A. I will tell you, for those of you who attended the Lakewood Library book reading, that Q&A got real interesting real fast. Real fast. So we'll see what happens here. And after that, we'll sell some books and we'll do some signing, and we're going to have the mix back on. So which is Breakup Songs That You Can Dance To, Volume 2. Okay, so thank you all so much for coming out here, and enjoy the photography. Okay, it's like abandoned theaters, abandoned shopping malls. So whether you're dealing with abandoned space, exteriorly or in your heart, you're in the right place. We will take care of you tonight. So thank you so much. Thank you.